My name is Owen Wanibu, also known as Coach Oweniko, the host of Transforming Relationship with Emotional Intelligence podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Today we'll be talking about happiness. What is happiness? How would you define happiness for yourself? Have you defined happiness for yourself? Can one really be happy most of the time, if not all the time? Some of these questions I will be answering in today's discussion. So join me as I answer some of these questions on happiness.
Happiness could mean different things for different people. That's the primary thing there. And people have to maybe give their own definition, what they believe is their own definition of happiness, which is very, very important. Okay, but also there could be generic definitions of happiness. People, they could define it, or there could be standard definition of happiness, which also we shouldn't ignore because it's not a new word. So that word has been in existence, and it's for us to also see how that definition connects with us. So we'll be looking at a few things, but then in going into that, we have equally seen that happiness is so important in the things we do. That's why we are talking about it, really. If you're not there, or if you're not happy, you're not functioning at your best. And so you're missing out something. So that's why the topic is so important, very useful, so that people can learn how to be happy most of the time, and then also know how to navigate back to when they move from that state of being happy, move to something, another state, then you can easily get back to that state of happiness, knowing that it's something you can control. It's not entirely out of your control. So some of us can train ourselves to be able to influence our level of happiness at each point in time. Okay, so happiness is so important, and then definition of happiness is a feeling or showing pleasure or contentment, just like what someone defined earlier on, feeling or showing pleasure or contentment. Right? So it's as simple as that. It's a feeling or showing pleasure or contentment, something that you are in a good state. It's a pleasurable state. It's a state of contentment. Yeah. So all those definitely, as we progress, we could give more clarity to that. But it's important to understand that happiness is a state, maybe a state of the mind, a feeling you have at a particular point in time, or most of the time, which is the point. So we have what we call the base happiness baseline level, or baseline level of happiness. That's the state of your happiness most of the time. Okay, and it's possible to increase that such that irrespective of what is you are going through or what's going on, you don't go lower than that your baseline level of happiness, and that you can consistently improve on raising it. Okay, so that most of the time you are in this state of that state of happiness. All right, so happiness. In further explanation of it, we can see some synonyms, some other words we can use in place of happiness, or that could give us a clue to what happiness could mean. And some of them are things like blessed, right, satisfied, untroubled, contented, yeah? Content, delighted, right, smiling, radiant, beaming, buoyant, delighted, merry. Yeah? All these are joyful, jovial, growing, carefree, joking, cheerful. Right? So all these are some synonyms of happiness, words we can use in place of the word happiness, so close words to happiness. Okay. So also in talking about happiness, um, definitely when we get to talk about other things in regards to happiness, we see how it impacts on other things we do. But we see that some things can make people happy. What about you? Are there things that can make you happy? Have you thought of that? What things make you happy? Without going into the definitions of happiness yet, just leaving it at that level, basic definition of feeling of contentment, feeling of joy, maybe. All right. So And there are things that happen, and one is happy, and there are things you have noticed that make you happy, because we have some things that we have observed that make people happy, even if it could be a temporary one. But you just see that when such things happen, people's level of happiness, okay, excitement, contentment increases. So, can you think of it, even if it may not be you necessarily? What other things have you seen that could make people happy, or raise their level of happiness? So generically, what we have observed is that things like money, yeah, could make people happy. In terms of, well, in terms of maybe depending on what level you are in your life. Definitely having money is very important, and we see that when people have money to do the things they want to do, yeah, generally they're happy. But we quite say that sometimes money, people may have money and still not be happy. So those are the type of things we want to look at. Could it be possible for somebody to have money and still not be happy? They have as much money as they can, more than they can need, but you still see a level of unhappiness in there. And sometimes we ask the question, if one were to choose between money and happiness, what would they choose? Okay, so I don't know about you. What do you think? How will you answer that? Even though maybe in a situation like this, everyone may default to happiness, but really, when it comes to making decision, will people make decision based on happiness or based on the monetary value of or money that they want to make at a particular point or they want to get? So these things are things we may need to reconsider in a particular way, because some of them are easy to answer, but then in practicality it's difficult to do. Yeah, so sometimes we're faced with that option: do I go for money or do I go for my happiness? And that could be in a lot of things. Sometimes it could be even enforcement of things and challenging situations. There are a lot of things that people sacrifice for their happiness. Things like house chores and a lot of things. So when there is a conflict between my happiness and something, will it be wise for me to default in the area of happiness? That means I will choose my happiness over any other thing. Will I be seen as making reasonable decision? Well, definitely for me, yes, but I may not really be bothered so much how any other person perceives it, depending on what it is. Yeah, so definitely a lot of us may default in the area of going in the direction of making that thing good for someone to be able to make such a decision, considering their happiness level or their happiness, depending on what it is. All right, so money is definitely something that when people get it, the happy family, people's family can make them happy. Yeah, so there are happy families, there are other families that can make people very unhappy. So happiness doesn't happen just because you're in a family. It happens when you create it. Yeah, it's something you have to consciously create. And this is why it's important for people to clarify the things that are important to them. A lot of times you ask this question of, what would people go for? Is it happiness or this or that? A lot of people, answering that question will tell you happiness. But when you watch them make decisions where they compromise their happiness for something minor, something little, and you begin to wonder, did they really mean the answer they gave, or did they really think through it, or do they think through things before they make such decisions? Yeah. So it's important that we take note of things like this. You may not set out to make that decision, at that point in time or spur of the moment. But if you have already resolved that this is something that is important to you, when the time to make that decision comes, you can make it unconsciously, or just not thinking, automatically, right? So you may not just be giving it so much consideration because that you have already set your priorities, you have set your values, and well, I believe that happiness should be one of our values, core values for that matter, depending on individuals anyway. But for me, I think happiness should be part of one's core values. Okay, so family can make people happy. Work can make people happy depending on what you do. Okay, so if you enjoy what you do, it can make you happy. If you don't, it might not make you happy. Right? Friends also, we've noticed, can make people happy. And well, depending again, good friends, bad friends. But if you have good friends, they can make people happy. Holidays, people going on holiday, that's a big one. People go on holiday. All right, so people travel to maybe where there is sunshine or where they can relax for days, some people weeks, depending on what they do. Right, so such things people look forward to it. Or time of relaxation, time off work, time off the busy days of life. Let's go and relax. So holidays, people love it, and it could create a level of happiness, like excitement in people. So holidays are one of those things. House, people buy a house, right? People get possession, get the things they like. They're happy too. Okay, so it could be a house, it could be a car, as you mentioned earlier on, and it could be anything really. Depends on what people are looking for. Right, so people go to church and they're happy. Okay, so some people who go to church and they're excited, they're happy. So church make people happy too. Club, yeah, some people you may find themselves in clubs. Yeah, so they go to club and they're happy, just as another person will go to church and be happy. So individuals, so it's about individuals recognizing these things and then also seeing how to use them appropriately. Right? Recognizing this thing about yourself, observing this thing, and then begin to use that knowledge to improve yourself and do make choices that are important to you in life. And so, talking about some of these things we have mentioned here, all right, we can see that a lot of them are dependent on certain things happening. So later on, I will speak a little bit on this on three types of happiness, and then we see how all those things fall into any of these three types of happiness. But it's important to know that definitely there are things that if we have them on the table, it can make some people happy, even if it's temporary one. Yeah, temporarily. That's still some part of a type of happiness. Yeah. So even if it may not, last for a while or long as others, but it's still an improvement on someone's level of happiness. Okay, so that's some of those things, and there could be a lot of other things. The list is not, exhaustive. So you can add to it depending on your personality and observation. All right, so let's look at these three types of happiness. Before then, let's look at what happiness is about. What have we observed that make people in terms of feeling, you know, having that feeling of happiness. One of them is what we call perceived control. Right? Perceived control. I love that. And which is some of these things when you see them, the use of these words, you know that really some of these things is some things that we can create. It says, we're talking about perceived control. How well, how much you perceive you are in control of something. It may not necessarily be that you are, but the perception, like we know, is real. So if you perceive or tell yourself or believe you have a level of control, yeah. So whether that belief is right or wrong, it's not the case, but that's what you believe. So you act based on it. So perceived control. Yes, if you perceive or believe you have a level of control, that could give you a level of happiness. Also, we have perceived progress. If you believe you're making progress, perception, yeah, what perception. And until you perceive it, it may not make you do anything differently or motivate you. So that's why that perception it has to be yours. Perceived, control, perceived progress. Yeah. So if you believe you're making progress, that gives you that idea to say, okay, I'm making progress. That can make me happy. I'm happy because I'm making progress. I'll say also connectedness, how well you are connected could equally be something that people, if they feel they are very well connected, they have the contacts they need at different places at different times, then they ignite the level of happiness in people. And also vision or meaning or purpose, that's a big one. I love that. Yeah. So for me, that's a very good one. Vision or meaning or purpose. So If you are living without vision, if you are living without meaning or purpose, then it becomes difficult to be happy. Yeah, so, but if you have a vision and have a or meaning or purpose, anyhow you want to call it, it gives you the type of happiness that lasts longest. Yeah, so I will be talking about three different types of happiness. Okay, that having a meaning for living, having a vision is very important because that's the one of the things that can help you sustain happiness. When you wake up every day and you're happy to do whatever you do, irrespective of the job, whether you're a carpenter, you're a lawyer, you're an engineer, you're a doctor. Right? So if what you are doing is your calling, your passion, your vision, your purpose, you see that giving focus to that which you do will create a level of happiness because really this is the life you want to live. Okay, so when people have vision or meaning or purpose, definitely their life happier. All right. Okay, so let's look at three types of happiness. Yeah, so we have the pleasure type of happiness. Okay, so the pleasure type of happiness is that type of happiness, what we call the rock star type of happiness. So it's the shortest living form of or lasting form of happiness. Okay? So it's temporal. As soon as the stimuli disappears or wanes out, whatever that stimulated the happiness, like some of the things we mentioned earlier on, in terms of whether it's to do with having money, buying a car, or whatever thing you got that made you happy. You see that immediately that thing, the joy of that thing wanes, you tend to fall back to your baseline level of happiness. Okay, so and even when people win lottery, get a lot of money, they may be excited for a while. But you see that after a while, after they have used that money for whatever thing they want to use it for, you see that they fall back to their, baseline level of happiness, which is the challenge with that type of happiness, what we call the pleasure type of happiness. We also have the passion type of happiness. Yes, passion is when you are passionate about maybe the things you do. For instance, if you're a sports person, enjoying that thing you do, the sports they call it being in the zone, and some other ways they describe it being in the zone, being fully immersed and engaged in what you love to do. We even see it in children, right? They are watching their favorite cartoon or whatever they watch. In all game, you don't get. They won't remember food. They won't remember, to use the loo until you go and stop that thing they are watching. They come back to reality. So some of us also, when we're doing things we love, we get in the zone and we're passionate about that. So that's another form of happiness, passion. That's the second lasting, form of longer lasting form of happiness. But then we have the third one, the third type of happiness, higher purpose. Right, higher purpose. That's you are living for something greater than you, bigger than you, which was why I was talking about earlier on. That's vision or meaning. That's when your life has a meaning, has a vision. You have a purpose for living, and these things are not new revelation, insight, or discoveries. People like Viktor Frankl wrote about these things years ago, where he said many people have the means to live, but no meaning for living. Okay, so when people don't have meaning, that's nothing they stand for. They stand for that. Nothing drives them. They don't have meaning. And Viktor Frankl also explained what maybe in his own view, what can how people can create meaning in their life. And one of the things he said is having a job, right? Having what you do, maybe not necessarily a job. It could be a business. It could be I would call it having a calling. Yeah, what you live for. When you have something you live for, all right, that thing can drive you. That's what gives you meaning. You wake up, you go, and you're happy to do it. And that's why these days we're asking people what you do. Is it a job, a career, or a calling? Right? So three different forms of things. Work can be a job, work can be a career, work can be a calling. So for individual, what you do, even you listening to this now, whether live or the replay, what you do if you go to work. That work, is it a job, a career, or a calling? So that definitely we'll be discussing in more details, but just for clarity here at this point in time, a job is something that people do just to get the money they need to maybe live everyday life. Okay, so do the things they want to do. That's the level. There's no emotional attachment to it, and many people, that's their understanding of work. That's their understanding of adult life. Do whatever it takes to make money to do what you need to do, and that's lovely. That's okay, right? But the point is that that type of thing, a lot of people don't find it fulfilling. A lot of people don't find it gratifying. So that's the challenge. That's the only challenge. And a lot of people may be doing what they do at that level are unhappy. Or they are unhappy. Every opportunity they have to be away from that thing, they take it. Right? So, but then they have to they have to put food on the table. They have to pay the things for the things they need to pay. They need to do the things they need to do. So because of it, they have this job. Okay, so career is more planned, more longer lasting in the sense of you make progression over the years. You plan it out for how you want to get to the top of what you do. So it's more established in the sense that in as much as you're earning money from it, also you're planning to make progress. You're planning having your career path how you want to get into it, right? So, but all the same, also there's that element of maybe something that sustains you making money from, and also the element of maybe it's what you call your career, what you want to do. So enjoy doing. So those are the maybe two major things when it comes to career. But also we have what we call calling, right? Which is where we want to get people, right? Calling, which what that this is what you live for. This is who you are. This is what you are called to do. So that's a very big one. So calling, when you have a calling, you don't think of not going in. You don't think of taking every opportunity you have to be away from that thing. This thing is something you desire, you love to do, and then you want to do it all the time. So that's the calling. And having said that, you can make your job a calling. You can make your career a calling. It depends on how you perceive it, how you view it, your belief about what you do. So when we are talking about job, career, when we're making those distinctions, it does not necessarily mean that they are mutually exclusive. Yeah, you can make your job a calling. You can make your career a calling. But the point is that now, if it has to become a calling, there's an emotional attachment to it. There's a deeper level of connection to your core values. That's the main thing, really. So anything that has to be your calling, we may likely have a lot of connection, a lot of things to do with your core values, the things that are important to you in life as an individual. Right. So that's the big thing. This thing that has to be your calling, it must be something that is deeply connected to what you are interested in doing in life, what you stand for. So that's the differentiation there when we talk about job, career, and calling. So they can make a lot of difference. But we say that people should see how they can transit from job and career to a calling. But that does not don't change it much. It's just an understanding, a level of commitment, a level of satisfaction that comes with what you do. Yeah, the joy of doing what you do. That's what makes the difference between those various classifications. Okay, so we have the pleasure type of happiness, which is the shortest living one. Something happens, then you're happy, and when that thing that has excited or caused the happiness disappears or went off, then you go back to your baseline level, which could be very low. Okay, so that's pleasure type of happiness. Then we have the passion, like I explained earlier on too. Yeah, you're in the zone, then you are enjoying it. But higher purpose, right? So, and this is the one I believe everyone should have, really. And that's how we can say you are happy most of the time. When you wake up happy to do what you do, you see that they are happy most of the time. So the pleasure type of happiness, the passion type of happiness may not be sustainable. Yeah. So that is for a very long time. So higher purpose type of happiness where you know that you have a meaning for living. I was explaining also the meaning, Victor Franco talking about meaning, how meaning can be found. One is job, right? Which is what got me into talking about those various categories of job. But he said another way of finding, second way of finding meaning could be love, finding love, okay? Being loved by someone or loving someone. Yeah, so that's equally another way of finding meaning. And he says the third way of finding meaning is how you manage things you cannot change. When you are faced with a difficult situation, this situation that you don't have full control over, how you respond to that situation also is an indication of having meaning in life. Okay, so those three ways are in the words of Viktor Frankl, three basic ways of finding meaning in life or creating meaning in life. Okay. So it's important that we consider the type of happiness that we are, most where we are most often. Yeah, in terms of that level of happiness, is it the pleasure type of happiness? Is that your definition of happiness? For a lot of people, that's the definition of happiness they know, right? Until maybe they get more understanding of these things. Okay, so which is okay, but also there's the pleasure. But the higher purpose is the one that will make you happier, and it's also the one that you can sustain for a very long time. Yeah. So if you define what you are living for, every day you wake up to live for that thing, you can't be disappointed by it is not going exactly the way you want it, because the primary thing you are living for is still ongoing. You can always come back to that. Okay, so that's very important. Now, when we talk about happiness, we see that sometimes people tend to contest it, or people say sometimes you can't be happy all the time. Don't mind those people that say that. That definitely you can understand where they're coming from. If somebody's definition of happiness is the pleasure or passion type of it, definitely they won't be happy all the time, because those things that make you happy may not be there all the time. So that's exactly okay. Yeah, but if we're talking of the higher purpose, then it's possible to be happy most of the time. In fact, all the time, because the thing that drives you is what you're living for. You're living a life of your choosing, or not of your calling. Okay. So statistics also shows us that the people who are happy, there are certain things about them. Okay, so that's why we're talking about this, because we see that when people are not happy in life, they don't tend to do very well. That's what I started with. That when people are not happy, if you are not happy, you're not performing at your best. You may tell yourself a lot of things, explain why you cannot be happy, but definitely, if you're not happy, you are not performing at your best. And if you're not performing at your best, why do you want to continue that way? Okay, so you are either wasting resources or not taking full advantage of the possibilities or abilities that you have, all of those. And that's why this topic is really important that people understand it. Definitely, a lot of people may have shied away from topics like this in the sense of they just think it's unattainable. And that's because with the definition of happiness we have, maybe it's the pleasure type. When I get what I like, when the things my day goes the way I want it, everything goes the way I want it, then I'm happy. Definitely. So if that's someone's definition of happiness, so it's logical that somebody can say definitely you can't be happy all the time, because definitely those things they come and go. They come and go, or after a while you are no longer as excited as you are when you first got them. Yeah, buy a new car, you might be excited for weeks, even months sometimes, but after a while, it's a car. You've used it now for some months, so it's okay. You're no longer as excited as the first time you got it, which is the way we behave as humans. All right, but let's look at some of the statistics we have about happy people, right? So we're making this so that you can put a level of effort to create your own happiness. That's a good word. Create your own happiness. Right? Your happiness is your responsibility. You can't leave it for another person or blame another person for your lack of happiness. No, you shouldn't subcontract it. It's your responsibility, and definitely every one of us can make that happen. But let's look at what we know about happy people. We see that they get in work setting, they get promoted faster. Yeah, they create this positive atmosphere that people enjoy. People love being around them, and that way, and that remember, we said that if you're not happy, you're not functioning at your best. So it wouldn't be a surprise to see that somebody that is happy, gets promotion at work because they're functioning at their best. Yeah, it works together. So, see, so when people are happy, they function at their best, and that gives them a level of advantage in the place of work. Advantage in the sense that people will love to be around them, people love to work with them, and the advantage in the sense that the person is focused on what they do, and they are accomplishing more because they are engaging, they are working at their best. So very important. So people who are happy, they, put in, they come to work, with their best, and then they produce their best, and hence they will definitely be promoted. They definitely make career progress faster than somebody who is not happy. All right. So people who are happy have 180% more energy. Absolutely. Absolutely. We can understand that clearly. Now, what we see is that when people are happy, they use more of the what we call replenishing energy. They don't use the what we call the depleting energy or depleting. They are not most of the time on the emotions that deplete their energy. Okay, I hope we would understand this here. So what we're saying here is it's understandable that they may have 180% more energy. Now, a lot of people who go to work and come back very tired may not necessarily be that their work was that demanding, but it could be their emotional state most of the day. Yeah, right? Someone who is happy, right? If we have two people, one is happy and the other one is not happy, or it's not as happy as the other one, and you take them, they live the same place, they live from the same place, the same house, eat the same food, go to the same work, do the same type of work, and come back, right? The person that is happy, or his happiness baseline level is higher, will have more energy than the person that is unhappy when they return, even though they did the same thing. And my point is that because the unhappy person is more predominantly in the area of using what we call depleting emotions, that means they're consuming more energy than the person that is happy, right? When you are happy, you conserve your energy. People who are unhappy, they, consume more energy. All right. I hope I've clarified that. Why they may have 180% more energy. I observe that. So you that go to work and you're exhausted when you come back, check whether it's because of the your state of mind, your state of emotions most of the day. That could be what is depleting your energy more than the physicality or the nature of the job you do. Okay, so that's something some of us may need to investigate over the next few days. Observe yourself and see how many times you stay on the positive energy, which is energy, some of energy or emotions that create a level of happiness, joy, satisfaction, fulfillment. Then depleting emotions are those ones that create anger, bitterness, frustration, unforgiveness, yeah, frustration, anxiety, fear. Right. So if you are that normal day is your emotion is predominantly those depleting ones, then definitely by the time you come back, you're run dry. And it's not because of your job; it's because of the way you use your energy. Yeah. If you're fighting going to work, you're fighting everyone that is trying to come into the major road where you are, or anybody that crosses the road, the cyclists, the motorbikes, the scooter rider, all of those people, you are finding something wrong with them. And some of these things are some of the things we help people to help to achieve. When we help you work on what we call your saboteurs, things that deplete, that some of the things you do with negative energy, yeah, negative emotions or depleting emotions, you can also accomplish the same level of results using positive emotions and all those renewing emotions. Okay, all right. I hope I'm not making it difficult for some of us to understand. So we also see that people who are happy are 108% more engaged in their job. That's no surprise at all. So they are more engaged in what they do. They are more focused. They are happy, of course. That's understandable. It's very logical. It's very objective. Yeah. So they achieve more, definitely. Okay. They are 40% more confident. Absolutely. And they are happy. Yeah. So their confidence level is equally high. Okay. So definitely these things can be, understood easily. They give better customer service, of course. Yeah. So definitely they give better customer service because they are happy. Yeah. And really, even if you go to places of maybe places of people's business, you see that you go to shops where people are friendlier to you. That's natural for us. All right, they are more creative. When people are happy, definitely they engage their the creative and the high functioning part of their brain. So it's understandable that definitely they'll be more creative. Right? So you can see the benefits of achieving happiness. It's very important. There's so much benefit to being happy, and this is why everyone should take that responsibility of making themselves happy. Okay, so at the societal level, yeah, looking at the society, we see that happy people live longer. Yes, happy people live longer. That's what we have observed in watching our society. People who are happy, they live longer. People who are happy, they have fewer ailments. They are not sick most of the time. Okay, so people who are happy are less. They have fewer ailments. People who are happy are more, altruistic, as we call it. So, and that what that means is that they are more willing to help others. Yeah, they are more willing to support others, and that's a very, very great attribute of an individual. If you are here to serve people, you are here to support people, you are here to help people the way you can. Also, people who are happy, they have more friends. Okay, people who are happy have more friends. They make other people feel great too. People who are happy make other people happy too. Yeah, happiness can be contagious. That's why in places of work, people like people who are happy. You like managers who are happy because they can easily influence others to be happy too. And it works the other way too. So, very important. We see that happiness is a great advantage. Hence, this few days we want to dedicate it to let people create that awareness. Some people don't know how important happiness is to their health. It has health value, right? To their progress. Very important. Happy people make, if you want to make progress in your business, in your career, happiness is also very, very useful. And now we're beginning to see that happiness is good for business. Yeah, before we thought that business was serious, and so you can't be in a serious business and be happy. That's not true. All right, that's not nothing further from the truth. It's like that. So you see that people can run good business and still be very happy. And what we have seen is that the businesses that are built, created those happy environment tend to outlast, the businesses that are not have not established such culture, and also they are more profitable because in the environment they have created that level of happiness in the environment, which definitely attract people because people want to be places like that. Okay, so happiness, a key one, is some of these things were touched on, and we will continue from there. All right, thank you everyone, and do enjoy the rest of your day. morning or evening, depending on where you are. Thank you.